Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. My dog is very energetic right now, so he's been bringing me his tug toys and wanting to play. So if you hear little paws prancing around, that's just my dog Bear. It looks like he is going to lay down right now, so maybe he'll be good for the video. I see you, smiley boy. He's so cute. But anyway, so the first one is favorite book so far. I've read over 100 books for this part of the year, and out of those, I will say my favorite has been Well Matched. This is the third book in the Well Met series. It is an age gap romance of about 10 years between like a 30-year-old gym teacher and a 40-year-old single mom. It had a lot of emotional family drama moments and also her struggle with like wanting to be with a younger guy, and also knowing that she didn't want to have any more kids and thinking that she could possibly be taking something away from him if they ever did have a serious relationship. This does start off with a fake dating scheme because he needs a date to go to his family reunion. Everyone's always asking him why he's still single, when he's going to start having kids and get married and settle down. And they already kind of knock him because he's not like a doctor, or he's not in a field that they consider to be successful and elite like all of his siblings are. So he's got all that family pressure, and he thinks, if I bring this mature older woman as my date, then they will stop asking all of these questions. And then on her end, what she gets out of it is that her daughter has just graduated from high school. She's going to be going to college the next year, which means that she can finally move to like a different state and pursue her dreams in a big city, away from the small town where she feels like she's always been judged for being a single mom. And she's always been a bit of a recluse, so she hasn't really formed any relationships with people aside from the last year or two, which was brought about by the events that happened in Well Met when her sister came to help her after she had had a leg injury. So she has him help her kind of redo the house. So there's a lot of like redoing the deck and repainting walls, just home interior type things. So if you like any of those tropes, I think you'll really enjoy Well Matched as well. The fourth book, Well Traveled, comes out at the end of this year, so I'm super excited for that book. I don't know if it's going to conclude the series or if there's going to be even more books, but I have enjoyed all of the installments so far. Best sequel? I decided to try my best to not do any repeats with this. Otherwise, of course, Well Matched is technically a sequel. It's the third in the series. So I was like, I don't really want to have a bunch of repeats on this list. So instead, I went with Retribution Rails. This takes place 10 years after Vengeance Road, which is the first book in this series. It is a Western story, and I would say that it's kind of new adult because the characters are like 18, but it is still very much so like a YA adult crossover. There's lots of violence in it. It is a Western, so there's like shootouts and kind of violence, like that sort of thing. This one, there is a girl who's wanting to go cross country, and of course there's like bandits that will rob your cart and steal all of your goods. So it's hard to travel across the like desert lands because you're probably going to get attacked. Then there is a boy who's part of the like bad team of bandits, but he's there because they kept him alive after killing the people that were taking care of him. So he is trying to kind of earn his way out of this gang. So lots of adventure with this one. There's also some romance that happens in it. And it was just overall really enjoyable. And you also get to have a cameo from the initial two characters, Kate and Jesse, that were in the first book. So now they are older. They're like 10 years older. So I won't really give you any spoilers about Kate and Jesse because I don't want you to know anything about Vengeance Road. But I really liked this sequel, and it was just a nice wrap up. Plus, there is a short story that I recently read, which is just simply called Kate and Jesse, that bridges the gap between book 1 and book 2. For a new release you haven't read yet but want to, I will go with This Woven Kingdom. I read the entire Shatter Me series the past couple of months, and so I definitely want to read more from that author, and that's their newest book. So I don't really know anything about it. I just know that I really liked the fast-paced writing style, and I liked the romance from the Shatter Me series. So I will definitely, most likely, after reading like however many books that series was, it was really long, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to like This Woven Kingdom. But yeah, I don't know anything about it, but that is the one that I want to read. Most anticipated release for the end of the year, I'm going to go with Well Traveled, the 4th book in the Well Met series. Again, I don't really know anything about that one. And then another one that I'm looking forward to is Chain of Thorns. So I also read all of the Cassandra Clare books. Like every single one. Except for, I think, the Shadowhunters Codex. I don't think I read that one. But it's just kind of like an encyclopedia about Shadowhunters. But I read all of her like Mortal Instruments and side stuff. I didn't read her middle grade stuff, but like all of the like solo Cassandra Clare books, I read like all of those in the past 2 years, most of them actually this year. And out of all of the series, I think I really enjoy the like Chain of Iron, Chain of Gold series. I really like it. I like the romance. I like the plot lines. It's interesting. It is historical. But yeah, I don't normally like historical, but I like the different elements of the story, so I am excited about Chain of Thorns. And that will probably be the last book that I ever read from Cassandra Clare, because I just don't want to keep reading about the same world over and over and over again, and her series tend to be never ending. But I did like that one enough to want to read the 3rd book in the series. So hopefully that's the end of that series, and I can move on from Cassandra Clare and find some other authors. So yeah. Then we've got biggest disappointment. So I have I have 2 series. They both have 2 books out, and both of the books were disappointing to me. Very sadly, because I liked both of these authors' other series, and I just didn't like these new series that they have. So one of those is going to be the Carve the Mark series by Veronica Roth. I was just bored. I didn't get the whole fantasy sci-fi feel. I felt like neither of those elements were really strong, especially the sci-fi part. I was like, they just wind up on a ship all of a sudden, and I'm like, where did this come from? It didn't make any sense to me. The romance, there was like zero tension. I did not care at all. And then you also have House of Earth and Blood, and then the second one in that series I also did not care. And then when they had the cameo character from one of her other popular series as like the cliffhanger ending to the second book, I was like, yes, I like that character, but now I feel like you're trying to get me to read more books in the series just because that character made an appearance, but I don't care about the 2 books I just read 1,600 something pages worth of. So it's kind of frustrating. I just didn't care, again, because the romance was not enough for me. I needed there to be more romantic tension and less of the mystery murder thing that they were trying to solve. I just didn't care at all about their cases that they were trying to work out. And because I didn't care about that plot line, I was like, just give me the romance and focus on that, and I don't care about the other stuff at all. So yeah, I am definitely a reader who has to have the majority of the book being based on the romantic tension, and then the plot should just be a bonus for me. I've got to have the romance. It's the driving force. It's the thing that I will stay up and read for, is to see when the romance happens. So yeah, that's that. Most surprising book I would say is Ice Planet Barbarians because I picked it up kind of as a joke and it got really popular on TikTok. And then the traditional publishers had picked it up and they made these really pretty covers for them. And so I was like, okay, haha, this is so funny. I opened up to like halfway through the book, read a page, and I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy this writing style. It was fast paced, it was first person. I think it was first person. And so I was like, yeah, I definitely want to read this. So I got the first two books. I really enjoyed the first book. I liked how she was kind of like using her sexuality to get her way because they didn't have language. They didn't have shared language for her to be able to communicate. So she was like manipulating him, which I wouldn't like if the roles were reversed, but because that tends to be the reverse in like the real world, I'm okay with it when it's in fiction, when people are using things to get their way. But anyway, yeah, second book I didn't really like. It was just, you just have to see my review for it. But the second book I didn't really like, and then I found out about a trope that was going to be used in the third book, and it just made me really disappointed. So I most likely will not be continuing the series, even though I do like the writing style. And then another one that would go for most surprising is going to be The Cruel Prince, that whole series. I had heard that The Cruel Prince was like enemies to lovers or even like a bully romance, and I'm not comfortable with bully romance. I've never read one, but just the idea of like a literal bully and then that becoming a romance just to me sounds like romanticizing verbal and emotional abuse, which I'm not okay with. I feel like The Cruel Prince toes the line. And the way that it toes the line and it falls in like the farthest level that you could go where I would still consider it to be enemies to lovers and not fade into bully romance is that both of the characters are equally kind of dominant in the way that they act and talk to each other. So as much as Carden is mean to her, she gives it back too. So if that was not the case and it was all one-sided with Carter like being the antagonist, the bully, and she was never doing anything, then I would not be okay with it. But because they felt equal, then I was okay with it. And then of course the plotline really worked and I was able to go with it. So yeah, that was another one that was surprising. New favorite author. So, the new authors that I've read the most of this year where I've not been disappointed by any of their books, all their books have been a 4 or a 5 star, is going to be Elle Madison and Robin D. Mahal or Mahal. I should probably ask her how to say her last name. But anyway, I have read one full series from them, plus 2 books out of a 4-book series, which I was just waiting on the audiobooks for the rest of the series. And then I also read Promises and Pixie Dust. So yeah, I liked all of those. They are like fantasy with some fae in it. And I absolutely love how the plot goes just as fast as the romantic tension. Like I said, I have to have romance in my books. And these definitely had that romantic tension that I long for when I read. So that's why they're my new favorite authors. It's also like the fast pace and just the plots are interesting. And I've liked the characters. They're like strong female characters who can kick butt and they don't sit around asking for permission to do stuff. So that's why I really like their books. Newest fictional crush. Okay, so one of those is going to be Mitch, which is the love interest in Well Matched, which I've already talked a bit about. He's the gym teacher. And the second one is going to be Wolf from Blood and Ash because so I know that there's some like tricky things that have to do with him that you find out towards the end of the book and into the rest of the series. I know that, but putting that aside, there are so many moments where he is literally the only one that is in her life that wants her to like be who she truly is. And he's not afraid of like a powerful woman. So I really like that. I like that he doesn't try to make decisions for her as far as what's in her best interest. And so, for instance, when he catches her on the roof fighting cravens, the only thing he has to say, other than like, why are you out here, is like, you should wear a better coat. So he's not like, you know, making her go back inside and all of this other kind of stuff, which I feel like a lot of other characters in books do. And they're just a little controlling. And with Wolf, it didn't feel like that. So that's why I liked Wolf. Then we have new favorite character. I'm going to go with Rory from Some Choose Darkness. So Rory is on the autism spectrum. She also has OCD, and I could totally relate to her. She has moments of burnout, and she's also this just very intelligent person who can piece together things from these crimes and kind of reenact them in her head so she can figure out what's going on. I just really, 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 really love intelligent characters, and it's so rare to find super intelligent characters that are women in books. The fact that this duology was written by a man and was done so well, just kudos, because I don't ever really see that. I don't ever really see it. And I really liked Rory. I also liked her love interest because he accepted all of her quirks. I just really liked the characters in that duology. Book that made you cry. Again, we're gonna go with Well Matched. This is why this is like the favorite story of the year. I had a hard time figuring out which ones actually made me cry, so like I can't pinpoint exact moments, but I'm pretty sure I did cry at least once with Well Matched. And then we also have People We Meet on Vacation. I can't quite remember. I must have got at least watery-eyed because I remember reading it on the couch, and I remember I cried during one of the books that I read on the couch. And since I so rarely read on the couch, I figured it must have been People We Meet on Vacation. But again, I cannot pinpoint the moment, and it might have been somewhat like tears of joy. like finally. But this is about two people who have known each other since college. They live in like the same hometown, so they decide to drive back together to save money on their traveling cost. And then they wind up going on vacations every year for like a decade. Except for 2 years ago, something happened that changed their relationship forever. Now they don't really talk to each other at all, aside from a happy birthday text. And so she is feeling displaced in her life. She's not really liking her job anymore. And she's just like, I don't remember the last time when I was happy. And then she thinks, and she's like, well, actually I do. It was when I went on vacations with Alex. So she decides that she wants to go on vacation with Alex again, and he agrees to go. So the book hops between their previous vacations, and then it also shows you their current vacation from hell where everything's going wrong. Like they're in a very hot climate and their air is out, and then there's parts where Alex gets back spasms that basically render him immobile for like a day so they can't go do anything. Just everything that can go wrong does go wrong. But I really appreciated their friendship, and I loved like the slow burn made me so frustrated, but also I loved it at the same time. But I was like, please just kiss and make up already. I want y'all to be together. It is one of those books where, like, you know it's a romance, so you know what's going to happen, just because romances all kind of have the same sort of formula, the same ending, with a happy ever after or a happy for now. Otherwise, it's not technically a romance. It's just like chick lit or women's fiction. But anyway, without really spoiling anything other than what you already know, I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway. So, yeah, I really liked their story. But I feel like if you did know exactly what the event was that caused the rift between them, like if someone spoiled that reason, it would make it a lot harder to get through the book, because that's what caused the momentum of it, with keeping you flipping the pages, because you needed to know what happened, and you don't really find out what happened until pretty much the very end. So don't let anyone spoil the reason for you, and don't like sneak ahead or you're going to be disappointed. Your enjoyment's not going to be as much. Then we have Book That Made You Laugh. For this one, I'm going with the Finley Donovan series. I am so excited for the third book to come out. I just really enjoyed these. They are funny. They're quirky. This is about a girl who's a writer. She's also been recently divorced, and she's a single mom. She is talking to her literary agent or her editor, one of the two. They're like at a diner somewhere. I think it was in Panera. And they're talking, and she's telling her about this murder mystery that she's planning on writing. And someone overhears and thinks that Finley is actually a hit woman and decides to offer her like $50,000 in order to kill off her husband. So then Finley has to decide, will I do this? So at the beginning of the book, she's like, is this guy a good guy or he's a bad guy? So she's like in disguise and goes into this bar to find out what kind of man this is and why would someone want to kill him. And then some things happen that make her be involved in the situation, whether she would want to or not. There's like this hot cop that gets involved too. And then she has this babysitter who is kind of like a best friend at the same time. So it's just a really cool cast of characters. She gets away with way more than she should get away with, and it makes some of the other characters seem really dumb. Like, it makes the cop seem very clueless and dumb. But people do have the tendency to underestimate women to begin with, so the book just kind of reflects that. But I am excited for book 3 because I think she's going to start not getting away with as much. And that's going to make it more interesting because she's going to have more situations that she'll have to try to get out of. And I can't wait to see how she tries to go about that. Then we've got The Most Beautiful Gift. So I've only been given one book this year so far that I didn't like order myself, and that's Skyward Flight. I did buy all of the novellas individually on ebook because I didn't know that they were going to do a bind up. And so then my husband was shopping on Target and they had one of those like buy 2 get 1 free. And he was like, hey, do you want anything? And I was like, yeah, I want this bind up. So I got the Skyward Flight now. So I am excited about reading it. I thought that this was just going to be a trilogy series, but now that I know it's probably going to be 5 books, it makes me wonder, do I want to go ahead and read all of these novellas and then finally get around to reading Cytonic? Or do I want to wait until the full series is out and then reread book 1 and book 2 and continue with the series? I'm really enjoying it. They are 5-star books for me. It's about this girl whose father was cast as a coward, but she really wants to be a pilot. And then there are like alien planets, and there's these people that want to attack their planet all the time. And there's also this other system or being that's kind of out to end civilizations too. And that's really all I can tell you. There is a little bit of an enemies to lovers romance that you get that starts kind of at the end of book 1 and then carries into book 2. And then book 2, she's kind of away from everybody for a while. A lot of people didn't enjoy it because the characters switch. Like the cast of characters, you only kind of follow Spencer. But I liked both books. I liked the world. I'm really digging Brandon Sanderson's stories. So I do want to read more of his stories in the future. But anyway, that's the book that I chose for this one. It's the only one. So there you go. Then what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So if I don't plan on doing the wait till they're all out and then reread the first 2 and continue, then I need to read Cytonic. I also really want to read Crown Princess Academy 2 because I read the first book in that series last year. These books are also spaced out a year apart, which is a long time for me, and I tend to forget details. However, this one I enjoyed so much that I still do remember a lot of the storyline, and I feel like I'll be able to pick up right where I left off. It's like a 500-page ebook, but this is like exactly what it says. Like Crown Princess Academy, there are fae in it, And so these royals need these women. They kind of compete, and they have to take on Malice. And Malice is like this evil thing, this evil entity. I don't know how to explain really, but this girl was kind of like born with the malice, which makes her a little different. So she's always had to hide it. And she also has like a sister that she wants to keep out of this brothel. And so she's wanted this sister to go to this academy so that she wouldn't be at this brothel. And she's also, it just reminds me a little bit of like Throne of Glass with the whole assassins element. Because she's like sent on these missions by this dude to like carry messages and stuff. Like, I can't really explain it. But if you like the Selection series and you like Throne of Glass, it's like a mashup of those two, but with Fae. I'm sorry, I can't come up with a better way to explain that. But anyway, that is my mid-year freak out tag. So let me know if you're interested in any of these books, or if you're not interested in any of these books, which one do you want to read most by the end of the year? I would love to know the answer to that question, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.